Entertainment has always been a part of human history, and in more modern times, cinema and television accounts for a large percentage of the entertainment sector. Today, we take a look at the history of horror movies and how technology has helped shape the image that has fascinated many generations. In 1659, Dutch scientist Christian Huygens invented the magic lantern, which was a traditional slide-based image projector which projected 10 small images of a skeleton. By 1756, a Swiss mathematician, astronomer and engineer Leonhard Euler invented the episcope, a system that uses opaque materials to create the projected image by shining a bright light from the object from above. Mirrors, prisms and imaging lenses were used to obtain focus. The first image projector was made by British photographer Edward Muybridge in 1879. To create the motion, the projector rapidly projects images from rotating glass discs. This style can be defined into three categories: pre-lens projection, analog with lens and optics, and digital projection with high-end lens optics and illumination sources. On the 5th of November 1894, W. Dickson and Herman Caster invented the mutoscope. Similar to Thomas Edison's kinetoscope, this process didn't project on screen for viewing, but rather a flipbook with individual images. Rather than being in a booklet, the 70mm film cards are attached to a circular core holding around 850 cards, giving a total viewing time of 1 minute. By the 1920s, the mutoscope was licensed to William Rabkin, who founded the International Mutoscope Reel Company from 1926 to 1949, and seemed to show most popularity at pleasure piers and arcades until 1971, when the introduction of the new decimal currency came in. Many of the coin mechanisms were difficult to convert, leaving many of the machines to be destroyed. Georges Méliès was a French magician, actor and film director in genres like fantasy and science fiction, well known for his innovation in special effects and techniques like substitution of splices in films like A Trip to the Moon in 1902 and The Impossible Voyage 1904. In the mid-1890s, George created what would become the foundation for horror films with Les Mains du Diable, The Haunted Castle, shot in 3mm film and contained ghosts, animated skeleton bats and the devil. The earliest motion picture that was filmed in Australia was in 1896 called Patineur Grotesque, or The Humorous Roller Skater, that was filmed only days before the Melbourne Cup at Flemington, which is the same year that Maurice Siesta and Walter Barnett premiered the film at Sydney's Criterion Theatre. The Criterion was built in 1886 by architect George R. Johnson with a neo-resistance exterior and a total seating capacity of 991 seats. It was used for drama, music performances for 50 years until the doors closed in 1935. Formed in 1917, the Australian Classification Board is responsible for the classification and censorship of films, publications for exhibition, and the sale and hire within Australia. The Commonwealth Film Censorship Board was established to view, classify and censor any imported films from overseas, and this fell into three ratings: G for general, A not suitable for children, and SOA suitable only adults. By 1971, new ratings were introduced to cover more genres of films: M for mature, R restricted, and NRC not recommended for children was replaced with the PG rating in 1984. The film industry exploded with this new dark genre, and between 1900 and the 1920s, more supernatural films were being produced, like Frankenstein, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and The Werewolf. The 1930s marks when the term horror was used to describe the genre, and with this came a public outcry with every horror movie released for it to be censored. After World War II, the horror film industry slowed because of the exposure to the war and the horrors that it brought, and by 1948, all horror films were being banned for import until 1968. The first television set was introduced in Australia in September of 1956 and was controlled by the government policy and derived from the findings of the Royal Commission on Television. The cheapest television set was a 12-inch valued at $445, which was considered expensive at the time. As public entertainment grew and the new concept of outdoor television came into light, the drive-in theatres started up in Australia on the 18th of February 1954 in Burwood, Victoria. The VHS, or Video Home System, was invented on the 9th of September 1976 by JVC, Japanese Victor Company, owned by JVC Kenwood. In the 1950s, the television industry first commercialised the videotape recorder VTRs. These were expensive at the time and only used by professionals until the 1970s, when technology became affordable for home use. The 12.7mm tape held a capacity of 2 hours between two spools and later released a more enhanced format such as the SVHS. With the introduction of the optical disc and laserdisc, the demand for these formats increased dramatically, and by the late 1990s the VHS has seen its peak and its decline. The VHS was finally discontinued in 2016 and officially replaced by the DVD, digital video disc. As the 80s, 90s and the 2000s came into shape with a different era for this horror movie genre, with a more enhanced visual and special effects giving a new dimension to the film. Films like Poltergeist, Children of the Corn, The Sixth Sense, Scream and Final Destination became more family acceptable, and Australian filmmakers coming up with films like Babadook, Saw by filmmakers Lee Warner and James Wan, and The Tunnel being filmed in Sydney, Australia. One of the most influential figures in cinema history was that of English film director Sir Alfred Hitchcock, which was born in August of 1899 in Leytonstone, London. Alfred started his debut in 1919 as a title card designer, what we call banners or dialogue intertitles, then transitioned into silent films from 1925 to 1929, mostly in crime and suspense, and gave a gothic but psychological approach to his films. Other notable film directors that have graced us with the visual entertainment over the years are Martin Scorsese, with over 30 films and multiple awards, Billy Wilder, an American filmmaker and screenwriter celebrated for his sophistication and wit, Peter Jackson from New Zealand, made famous for the Lord of the Rings trilogy, James Cameron, a Canadian filmmaker who has grossed over $8 million worldwide for films such as The Terminator and Titanic, Steven Spielberg from the USA, who is also a video game designer, directing films for over 40 years addressing issues like slavery, war, terrorists and the Holocaust, with films like Jaws, E.T., Jurassic Park and Schindler's List. Tim Burton, Clint Eastwood, Robert Zemeckis and Quentin Tarantino have also left their impression on the film industry over the years. Some of the most highest grossing films of this century are at number 1, It at $704 million, number 2, The Sixth Sense, number 3, The Conjuring at $495 million, and number 4, The Exorcist, $430 million. So, no matter what film you like to switch the lights off to and snuggle up on the couch, it's for sure that horror has a reputation that puts it at the top of the list.